Hi developers, welcome back to another exciting tutorial. In this tutorial, we're going to learn to build a full stack login and registration system using MERN stack. We're going to use MongoDB, React, Node.js, Express, and we're also going to use packages like JWT and Bcrypt for authentication. So we're going to be building a login and sign up page. So this is what it's going to look like on the front end. So this is our form here, login form. We have two input fields, email and password. So once the user enters the email and password, that means they have an existing account, and then they hit the sign in button, they are going to be logged in successfully, and it will lead them to the home page. For users that do not have accounts, if they click on create an account, they are going to see the name field, email and password field. Once they fill up this form and hit the sign up button, an account will be created for them and they would be led to the home page. So let's test this out now. I'm going to enter a name. I'm just going to use a random name, Roland, and the email will be roland@gmail.com. Password. So if I click on sign up now, you're going to get a notification here, account created successfully, and here they would see the home page. So here we have 8 developers. Welcome to my channel. Don't forget to subscribe, and we have the logout button as well. So if the user clicks on this logout button, they will be logged out. Okay, but before clicking, if they refresh, they're still going to be on the page. So no matter how they refresh, they'll still stay logged in. And now if I hit the logout button, it's going to lead us back to the login form. So now we're going to log in. Roland@gmail.com. Password. So if I click on sign in, login successful, back to the home page. So we're going to build this using React, Node.js, Express, and MongoDB. So we're going to be using MongoDB as our database, and that's what we're doing in this tutorial. This will be a very simple and short tutorial, and it's going to be step by step. So for each line of code, there will be an explanation to it. Let's get started. I'm going to open the code editor of our choice. I'll be using VS Code. Then we'll click on File, click on Open Folder, and here you're going to select the folder where you want to create your project. So I have a folder here where I create all YouTube projects. So right here, I'm just going to click on New, and then I'll create a new folder in this folder, and I'm going to name it MERN Login Sign Up. Press Enter, and then I'm going to select this folder and open it in VS Code. So on this folder here, we're going to create another folder for Frontend, and also we'll create another folder for the backend. So we're going to start by building the backend. Click on the backend folder and then click on Open an Integrated Terminal. So right here in the folder as well, we're going to create a new file and we're going to name it server.js. Okay. Then on the terminal that we opened, we're going to type this npm in it. Press enter. So right here, package name is backend, enter version, enter description. The entry point here is server.js, which is what we created now. Press enter, 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 enter. Is this okay? Yes. Okay. And now you can see that we have our package.json. Okay, so in the package.json, the name of this folder is backend version 1.1. Description here is nothing, main server.js. We're going to add the type. So right here, we're going to have type, and it's going to be module. Also, I'm going to delete this test command. After the start command, we're going to have server. Okay, we're going to add a comma here. Okay, so server. And here we want our server to start with node-mon. So we're going to use node-mon. We're going to install node-mon soon. Node-mon server.js. So now that we have this, we're now going to install all the packages that we need for this project. So here we're going to have npm install cause. We're going to install Bcrypt. We're going to install node-mon. We're going to install .env. We'll install JSON web token. We would install Express and validator. So press enter now. So I'm going to explain all of this that I want to install. So I'll start with cause. Cause is the security features in web browser that restrict how resources on a server can be accessed from different domains. So the cause in Node.js package helps us to configure access permission. Then here we have Bcrypt. It's a library for hashing password securely before storing them in database. So this is going to make it difficult for hackers to decode password in database. Then we have node-mon, which is a tool that automatically restarts a Node.js application when it detects any file changes. We're going to see that in action when we are typing, and you see that the node-mon will restart our server anytime we have a change in the file that is in our backend. Then we have .env, which is a package that loads environment variable from a .env. Okay, everything has been installed, but I'll keep explaining. .env is a package that loads environment variable from a .env file, and it keeps sensitive data like API keys secure and separate from the code. So here, this is where we're going to have our MongoDB URL, other important API keys. And here we have JSON Web Token, which is a package that is used for creating and verifying JSON Web Tokens, which helps with user authentication and authorization. Then we have our Express. So Express is a backend framework that runs on Node.js, and it helps us build server-side application and API by handling routing, requests, and responses. Then we have Validator, which is a package that is used to validate and sanitize user input, such as checking if an email is valid or if your password meets a certain criteria. So these are the packages that we're going to be using, and if we check now, we have it all installed. We have it here: Bicrypt, Cause.env, Express, JSON Web Token, NodeMon, and Validator. So let's get started with work. So the next thing we need to do now is to create a new folder. We're going to create our project structure. So we'll start with config, the config folder. Then we're going to create another folder for controllers, and we'll create another folder for models. We'll create another folder here for routes. So each of these folder has a job. So the config folder would contain configuration files like the database connection, environment setup, etc. And we have the controllers folder here that's going to hold logic. Each of the files that we have here is going to hold logic for handling incoming requests, processing data, and sending responses. And for the models, this is where we're going to define the structure and schema of our data that we use in the application, and it's usually tied to a database. And we have the route here, and here we're going to map HTTP requests to a specific controller function based on the URL and method. So you're going to see all of that in action as well. And also, I'm going to create a file, and I'm going to name it .env. So this is where we're going to have our API endpoint and every other important keys and values that we need. So let's start by creating our server. So first, we're going to import Express from Express package. And also, we're going to import Cause from Cause package. And then right here, we're going to have const app will be equal to Express. Then we're going to define our port. So our app here will be for, we're using Express. Okay, so here we define our port. We have process.env dot ports or 4000. So we're using either the port number from env file or port 4000, but basically we're going to be using port 4000. Next thing, we're now going to do app.get, open our brackets, comma, requests and response. So request and response here, we'll pass it, and response.send. We want to display this message, API working. So right here, we have initialized the Express app, and here we have set the server port to the port number from our environment variable, or port 4000. In this case, we're using port 4000, and here we're setting up the route to test if our server is working. So right here, we're using app.get. We want to check if the entire folder, if the server is working. So we're sending a response message, API working. So next thing we need to do now is to enable Cause for handling cross-origin requests. So we're going to have app.use, open our brackets, then we'll call Cause. And also, we'll pass incoming JSON payload. So here we have app.use, open bracket, express.json. And then right here, we're going to start our server. After setting up the route to test if the server is working, we're going to start the server. So here, app.listen, open our brackets, the ports, then we'll create a function. And here we're going to have console.log, server started on ports. Then we'll concatenate it with the port number, ports. Okay, so also we need to import our .env because we're using it right here. So we're going to have import.env/config. Okay, so now we're going to check if our server is working. And right in our terminal, we're going to have npm run server. Press enter. So this is what we have. Server started on port 4000. Okay, so I'm going to separate this. Okay, and you can see that once there's a change, NodeMon has restarted the server. So you can see here, NodeMon restarting due to changes, starting node server.js. And we're getting this message, server started on port 4000. And now let's test if this is going to be working on our Chrome. So here we're going to have HTTP localhosts. And the port number is 4000. If I click enter, so right here we're getting the message, API working. So for this project, we're going to be using this extension to test. We're going to be using Thunder Client for testing. So if you do not have Thunder Client, do well to install it. So right here, I've been using it for a while now. So click on new request. So now we're going to be testing on this. So I'm just going to copy this. So I'm going to Ctrl A V, want to test. We're using the get method. If I click on send now, we should get API working. So that means our server is working perfectly well. So now the next thing we need to do is to connect with our database. So here you're going to type MongoDB Atlas. So right here, we're going to click on this. So this is the official website. Click on sign in. So if you do not have an account, just click on sign up and you're going to follow the process and create an account. So I have an account. I'm just going to click on Google and then sign up. So once your account has been created, you would see a dashboard. So I have like few projects that are created. Then you're going to click on new projects. You give the project name. So here I'm going to give it MERN login. Then you're going to click on next. So then you're going to check if your email is there. Click on create project. Now the project has been created. Then you're going to see this create a cluster. Click on create. And it's going to lead you to an entirely new page. So we're going to use the free, so because this we're only learning, so this is for learning and exploring. If you want to make payment, there are options here. So this is just for, so here we have free. Then you're going to choose a region. You can decide to choose Amazon Web Service, Google Cloud, or Azure. So I'm going to be using AWS. And you're going to choose a region that is close to you. So I'm going to choose Cape Town. And then you're going to click on create deployment. So next you're going to see this page. Once you click on this, then you click on allow access from anywhere. Then this is going to be the IP address that we'd use. Then click on add IP address. So after this, so here you're going to type in the username for this. So here I'm just going to use tutorial. And then for the password, I'm going to use this password here. Hide, then create database user. So once this has been created, then we're going to click on choose a connection method. Click on drivers. And right here, drivers is Node.js. This is the latest version, 6.7. Then we've installed our MongoDB. Now we're going to copy the connection string. So you're going to copy from MongoDB to .NET. So Control C, copy this. Then you're going to click on done. So once this is done, we'll head back here. And in our .env file, we're going to have a variable for MongoDB underscore URI. And this will be equal to quotes, and you paste what you've copied. So we copy from MongoDB to .NET. Okay, so once this is done, we'll close our .env file. And then we're going to create, you're going to get an email that you're allowed access from anywhere. So in our config file, we'll create a new file. And I'm going to name the file MongoDB. In lowercase, MongoDB.js. And right here, we're going to create the function to establish connection to MongoDB database. So we'll start by importing Mongoose library to interact with MongoDB. I don't think we installed Mongoose, so we need to do that now. So we're going to open, on the backend, click on open an integrated terminal and let's install Mongoose package. So here I'm going to have npm install Mongoose. And then I'll press enter. So basically, the Mongoose package is a library for working with MongoDB in Node.js. It helps us structure data, define schemas, and interact with the database easily. So we're going to need this package to interact with our database, and that's why we're installing it now. So now it has been installed successfully. If we check our package.json, we can see it's here, Mongoose has been added. So let's write the code to establish a database connection with MongoDB. First, we're going to import the Mongoose library to interact with MongoDB. So here we're going to have import Mongoose from Mongoose package. Then we're going to create a function to establish a connection to the MongoDB database. And I'm going to name the function connectDB. So here we're going to have const connectDB. It's going to be an asynchronous function. Async, it will have no parameter. And then we're going to create an event listener that will log a message when the database connection is successfully established. So here we're going to have mongoose.connection.on. If it is connected, so here we're going to have connected, we'll create a function here. Open our curly braces, and then we'll log a message that connection has been established. So here console.log connection established. Okay, so remember this is what we're using. This is the server that we're using here. So after this, inside the function, we're going to connect the MongoDB database using the URL that we stored in our environment variable. So here we're going to have await mongoose.connect, open a bracket, use a backtick, then we'll have the $sign, then open the curly braces, and we're going to have process.env from our environment variable dot MongoDB URL, which is this. So best thing, just come here and copy this, and then paste it here, MongoDB URL. After this, then slash, we'll now type login, since we're building a login form. Then after this function, we're going to export the function, the connectDB function, to use in other parts of our application. So here we're going to have export defaults connectDB. Okay, and now right here in our server.js, we're going to call the function connectDB function Okay, ensure that this would import as well. So MongoDB add.js to it, .js in lowercase .js. Okay, so we've called the connect DB function. So right here we're getting an error, and here bad authentication failed, handshake error. So let's check in our .env file. Let's see. Okay, the database password is missing. So if we head back here, it is said that we need to replace this DB password with the password for the tutorial, this database user. Okay, so we're going to do just that. So this is it now. And now, okay, now that the password has been replaced, we can see here server started on port 4000 and we're getting this message connection established. So we've been able to establish connection with our MongoDB database. So I'm going to close this now, close our .env file as well. Then we're going to continue with our project. So let's start by creating our user model. So in the models folder, I'm going to create user models.js. So in the user model file, this is where we're going to define schema for a user in MongoDB. So right here, we'll start by importing Mongoose library to interact with MongoDB. So we're going to have import Mongoose from Mongoose package. Then we'll define our schema for the user. So we're going to have const user schema be equal to new mongoose dot schema. Open and bracket. Then we'll have our curly braces, which is going to contain the objects for the user. So we're going to have name. So for the name, the type will be string, comma, required be true. So here we have true. Then we'll have a comma. Next is the email. So email, the type will be string as well. Type string. Then we'll have required true. Required. And also we'll have unique. We'll set this to true as well because each email should be unique to a particular user so that we can have a larger screen. Then we're going to have password as well. So password. Type here will be string as well. Comma, required with true. Okay. So after this, we're now going to create a Mongoose model for the user. If the model already exists, we'd use it. Otherwise, we're going to create a new one. So here we're going to have const user model will be equal to mongoose dot models dot user. If this exists, then we'll use this. If it doesn't, we're going to have mongoose dot model open brackets user, comma, user schema. Okay. Then we're going to export our user model to be used in other parts of the application. So we're going to have export defaults user model. Okay. So now that we've created our user model, next thing we need to do now is to create our controllers. So here we're going to have user controllers.js. So here we're going to have all the logic and the function to undo user login and registration. So first we need to import validator from validators package. Also, we need to import bycrypt for hashing password. The validator is validator will be used to check the user's email and password to see if it matches with what we want. Then bycrypt for hashing password. So here from okay, and also JWT from JSON web token. Okay. Then we're going to create the functions. So we'll start with the function for login. So here, login user. And it's going to be an asynchronous function, async, arrow function. The parameters are going to be request and respond. Okay. Then we'll create the second function for register user. This will be for registration. Register user, async, arrow function, request and respond as well. Then we're going to export the two functions so that we can create the route for them. Export login user and register user. Okay. Now that we've exported the three, so I'm going to turn this to a comment now since we're not using them yet. Now in our routes, we'll create a file as well for user routes. So here we're going to create our endpoint, user routes.js. So right here, we'll start by importing Express. So here, Express from Express package. Then we're going to import the two functions that we exported here. So I'm just going to copy this and then I'm going to paste it right here. So we're going to import this from dot forward slash, okay, dot forward slash controllers slash user controllers.js. Then we're going to create the user router. So here, const user router will be equals to express dot router. And now we're going to create the API endpoint for each of the functions. So here, user router dot, here we're using the post method, and here the API endpoint is register. This is to register user, and it will be followed by the function, register user function. We'll do the same, user router dot post method, and this is going to be for login. So this is the API endpoint, login, comma, followed by the function login user. Now we're going to export our user router. So export default user router, and we'll be able to use it in other parts of the application. Now, in our server.js, we are going to create the API endpoints. Okay, so after this app.use, okay, we're going to create our API endpoints, and here we're going to have app.use, open our brackets, slash API, slash user, and we'll pass here user router. Okay, and ensure that this is imported and it ends with .js. Okay, so now let's test. We'll start with the login user controller function. So here, response.json, this is just going to be a simple message. Success, true, and we'll have a message, login successful. Okay, so now we're going to test. Let me close the user route. We're going to test here. So right here, we're going to use the post method. So http localhost port 4000 slash API slash user slash login, and then we're going to click on send. So right here, we're getting the message here, success true, message login successful. So we're going to test our register user as well. So I'm just going to cut this, Ctrl X, and I'm going to paste it here. And this is going to be, this is for accounts. So here, accounts created. Okay, so new requests. So localhost slash API slash user, this is going to be slash register, because that is what we have in our route here. Okay, and we're using post method. If I click on send now, you can get this message, accounts created. So that means our function is working. Now we're going to write the main logic to enable user to log in and also to create an account. So we'll start with the function to register user. So we'll start with our try catch statements. In the try block, we're going to extract the name, email, password from request body. So here we're going to have consts, open our curly braces, name, comma, email, comma, password, and to be equal to requests dot body. Next thing is to check if the user already exists in the database. So we're going to have consts exists will be equal to await user model dot find one. So here find one, open our brackets. They want to set if they exist by their email, because we want the email to be unique. Okay, we need to import user model. So here I'm going to uncomment this, then I'm going to import user models. Let's see, does it have an S? User models from dot forward slash models slash user models.js. Okay, so we use an if statement to check if the user exists. They want to return a message that user already exists. So if exists, then we open our curly braces. We want to return response.json, open our curly braces, success true, message user already exists. And if there is no user with this email, then it will continue with this code. So first we're going to validate the email format using the validator package. So if it does not match with validator, if not validator dot is email, then we'll pass the email here. We're going to return response.json, open our brackets, then our curly braces, success false, and we generate a message. We display this message, and it's going to say invalid email address. Okay, so let's make the screen bigger. I'm just going to minimize this. I'll close this as well. Okay, so it's going to display invalid email address. Also, we need to ensure that, in this case, we want to ensure that the password is at least 8 characters long for security. So we'll use an if statement to do that. If password dot length is less than 8 characters. They want to return response that's JSON. Success here be false as well. Message is going to be please enter a strong password. Enter a strong password. Okay, so if all of these conditions are met, if the email is valid and the password is more than 8 characters, we're now going to hash the user's password before saving it to the database, and that's why bytecrypt comes in. So here we're going to have const salt be equal to await bytecrypt dot gen salt bracket 10. So here we're generating salt for hashing. Then we are now going to hash the password. So const. Oh no. Okay, this will not be inside. Okay, delete. Okay, so const hashed password will be equal to await bytecrypt dot hash open our brackets password comma salt. So here we've hashed our password, and now we're going to create a new user object with the hashed password. So we're going to have const new user will be equal to new user models. Then we'll open a bracket. Then we'll create our object here. So we're going to have name, email, and the hashed password. So our password is going to be the hashed password. Okay. So after this now, we're going to save the new user to the database. We're going to have const user will be equal to await new user dot save. So we use the same method. Then we're going to generate a token for authentication for the new user. Okay. So before generating the token, we need to first create a function to create a JW token for a user. So before our login function here, we're going to have another function create token. So here, const create token will be equal to into ID. We want to generate token based on ID. So we're going to sign a JWT token using the user's ID and a secret key. So for the secret key, we're going to create JWT secrets in our env file. So after this, we're going to have JWT underscore secrets, and this will be equal to, I'm just going to give it this tutorial. So this is our secret key in this case. Okay, so here we need to sign a JWT token to the user's ID and the secret key. So you're going to have return JWT dot sign, open our brackets, then we'll pass a curly braces ID, comma, process dot env dot JWT secrets. So we'll come here and copy this keyword here to avoid typo error, and we'll paste it here, JWT secret. Now we've created a function to create a JWT token for the user. Then we can now generate the token for authentication right here. So now we're going to have const token will be equal to, we'll call the create token function. So create token based on user dot underscore ID. Okay. Now we're going to send response for account creation once it's successful with the token. So here we're going to have response.json, open a bracket, then our curly braces, success true, message, account created successfully. So here we have account created successfully. Okay. So if there's an error, if there's a problem with our try block, our catch block is going to handle the error. We'll log the error in console. So log error in console, error, and then generate the response as well. Response.json, success, false, message, error.message. Okay, we missed something here. After this message, we need to also add the token. We want to generate response message with the token. So here, comma, token. Okay. So now let's test if this is working. I'm going to close the env file, close the route. So now let's test this. Okay, so we're still in the register. We're using post method. So we're getting this. Remember that here we want to get the email, name, and password from request.body. So here we click on body, and here JSON. So we'll create our objects. Then we'll have the name. So we want to create an account for John Doe. So I'm just going to use John, comma, email would be John at gmail.com. gmail.com, and then we're going to have the password. I'm just going to use John1234. Okay, so if you click on send now, you can see here success true, message account created successfully, and you can see this token here. We've generated a token for this user that just created an account. Okay, so our code is working perfectly well. Next thing now is the login. Okay, so before the login, I want us to try out something. Okay, so here we have if user exists, if the email is the same thing. Let's say the person is using a different name, but the same email. We're going to get this message, user already exists. So we're going to try that out here now. So let's say I just want to change this to John 2. I'm using the same email, but the password, I'm just going to tweak it a little bit. We're going to get success true, message, user already exists, because this email already exists. Okay, now the second thing I want to test is validator if the email is invalid. So let's say this is john@gmail.com. If we click on send, you can see we have invalid email address. So let's say we don't have @. Let us say john@gmail.com. If I click on send as well, we're going to get success false, message, invalid email address. Okay, so that logic is working. Now, if our password is less than 8 characters, here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, let's say we want to reduce it to John123, which is just 7 characters. John is 4, 1, 2, 3 is 3. If I click on send now, john@gmail.com. So if I click on send, you're going to get, okay, this user already exists. Okay, so I just added john2@gmail.com and the password is less than 8. You can see here, success false, message, please enter a strong password. Okay, so all of this is working perfectly well. Now let's continue with our code. Now we're going to write the function for user to log in. We'll start with our try catch statement. So here we have try catch statement. First, we need to extract email and password from request body. So we're going to have const email, comma, password be equal to request.body. Then the next thing is to find the user in the database by email. So we're going to have const user will be equal to await user model dot find one open brackets, then our curly braces will enter the email. Then we'll use an if statement to check if no user is found. We want to return an error response, user not found. So if not user, then we want to return response.json success false, message user not found, user not found. So, and if the user is found, we need to compare the provided password with our stored hashed password. Remember that when we're creating users accounts, we hash the password. So now if the user is found, we want to compare the provided password, the password that the user would input with our stored hashed password. So here const create a variable is match will be equal to await bycrypts dot compare into brackets password, comma, user dot password. So now we'll use an if else statement next. We want to check if the password matches, we generate a JWT token and return a success message. If the password does not match, we generate an error message. So here if is match, we'll create the token for the user. So we're going to have const token will be equal to, we'll call the create token function, create token into brackets user dot underscore id, user dot underscore id. Then we generate the response message that the login is successful if we're able to generate a token. So response.json open brackets, then our curly braces success true, message is going to be login successful. Okay, then if otherwise, we're going to have else generate an error message, response.json success false, message incorrect password entered. So here incorrect password entered. So if there's any error with our try block, our catch block is going to undo the error. So I'm just going to come here and copy what we have in this catch block. Now I'm going to come paste it right here. Okay. Also here we need the token. So once we generate the message login successful, then we're going to pass the token as well. We're going to display the user's token. Now let's go test this out. So back here, okay, this is not the API endpoint to be for login. Okay, so we don't need name. To log in, we need email and password. So I'm going to delete this. The email is john@gmail.com. The password is john1234. So I'm going to add 4 here. If I click on send now, so here we're getting success true, message login successful, and this is a token for the user. Okay, so we have other things here if we don't have the email at all. So let's say we want to have john1@gmail.com. If I click on send now, success here is false, message user not found, because we did not register any email for john1@gmail.com. Okay, another thing here is if the password does not match what we provided. So what we registered is john@gmail.com. So let's say the password, I enter 5 and 6, John 1 2 3 4 5 6, and I click on send. I'm going to get message incorrect password entered. But if the password is correct, 1 2 3 4, we're going to get success true, message login successful, and we'll have a token here. So now that we've created the function for login and sign up, now we need to create our front end. So I'm going to close everything that has to do with backend, and then I'm going to open our front end. Click on open an integrated terminal, right click on the folder, click on open an integrated terminal. And then we're going to run this command, npm create vit latest space full stop, press enter. Now we're going to select our framework, which is React. Then we'll select the variant JavaScript, and then you're going to run this command, npm install, click enter. So while this is installing, we need to install Tailwind that we would use to style. We need to install Axios, and Axios is used to make HTTP requests to external APIs. So it helps us send, get, post, delete requests, and more. And it handles promises and asynchronous data easily. So we're going to install Axios, we install Tailwind. We're going to install React Justify for toast notification. Okay, so once this is installed, we're going to do that. So while this is installing, we'll visit our browser, and here we're going to visit Tailwind CSS official websites, Axios, the npm package, and also React Justify. Okay, so this is Axios, this is for Tailwind, and this is for, okay, so here is our official Tailwind CSS website. Click on documentation, and here it will lead you to this website, the installation, get started with Tailwind CSS. Yeah, we're using Vite, so we're going to copy this line of code and paste it on our terminal. So right here on the front end, we'll paste this. While this is installing, we're going to do something else. I believe we're all familiar with this. I'm going to delete app.css. Then we're going to clean up our app.jsx. So Ctrl A, delete everything, and we use refc. This is a shortcut to create React snippets. So to use this shortcut, you need to have this extension. You need to have this extension, EX7 React Redux React Native extension. So if you don't have it, just click on this search bar and search for it. Ensure to install this. Okay, so back to our Explorer page. We'll clean this up. We'll do this as well. Ctrl A, delete, and we'll head back to the website. Okay, so the next step is to configure the Vite plugin. So in vite.config, in Tailwind CSS website is .TypeScript, but in our own case, we're using JavaScript as our variant. So I'm going to copy this line of code and then head back here. Here is vite.config.js. It's going to do the same work. So paste this code and then copy the Tailwind CSS plugin as well. And then after this, React, type, comma, press enter, then paste the Tailwind CSS. Next thing is to import Tailwind CSS to our CSS file. So we're going to copy this line of code, and here in index.css, we're going to paste it. And the next thing is to run our terminal, which we're going to do later, and then we'll start styling. Before that, we need to install this package, Axios, to make HTTP requests. Let's visit the official website for React Justify as well. So I've copied this installation code. Okay, so you're going to paste the line of code here. So this is to install Axios. Next thing is to copy, oh, I had a connection problem. Okay, copy the installation code for React Justify. So after the Axios has been installed, we're going to install React Justify. I don't think I copied that. Okay, so copy the line of code, and then we're going to paste it right here in our terminal. So while this is installing, in our source folder, we're going to create two files. The first file will be the home page file. So here, home.jsx, refc, snippet to create, shortcut to create React snippets. Then we'll create the login form, login.jsx, right here, refc. Okay, let's test if this app is actually working. So right here, I'm going to have an H1 tag, and I'm going to type in subscribe to my channel. If you have not yet subscribed, please do subscribe to my channel. Then I'm going to style this with Tailwind. So text, just add the color, green, 300, and the text size should be about 6 pixel. Now let us see what we have so far. npm run dev. So here we have the link. So just click on follow link. I'm going to close all of this. Okay, you can see that this is working. Subscribe to my channel. This is the color, and you can see the size is actually very big. Okay, so let's start work. Okay, there's something else I need to point out in the database here. Let me click on done. Okay, so if you click on browse collections, you're going to see everything that you've worked on. Okay, so this is for users, user model, right? And we've created an account. So if you just click on this, it's loading documents. You're going to see the accounts that we have created. Okay, so we created an account for john@gmail.com. So you can decide to delete. I'm going to delete this. So you can delete from here. Okay. So remember that we said we hashed the password. Okay, this is the ID for this user, john@gmail.com. This is the name, John, email, john@gmail.com, and the password is not the same password that we typed while we're testing. This is the hashed password. Okay, so this is just what I wanted to point out. Okay, let's continue with our front end. So I'm going to minimize our terminal, and then we're going to get to work. Okay, so first off, so the first thing we're going to do here is to create our backend URL. So right here, we're going to have const backend URL will be equal to. So we're going to come here, copy what we have here, and then paste it here. So HTTP localhost port 4000. That's the backend URL. And I'm going to delete this / that we have here. Okay, so we're going to use this backend URL in other parts of our application. So I'm going to add exports. So it will be easy to use from other pages, from other files. Okay, so that is that. And now we're going to create our login. We'll create our login form now. I'm going to delete this first. Then we're going to create our form. So right here in the div tag, I'm going to delete this. Then I'm going to create the form tag. So form, I'm going to delete the action that we have here. Okay, so in between our form tag, we're going to have a div tag. And for this div tag, it's going to be like an header tag. So we'll have a p tag here. Before this p tag, there's something that we need to do. Remember that we're creating the login form and also the registration form. So we're going to create the states that's going to track when user is in login state or registration state, which is sign up state. So I'm going to create a state variable for that state. Current state, comma, set current state. Set current state is the setter function, so that is going to update the state. And by default, use states. We're going to set this to login. So right here for our p tag, which is going to serve as the header tag, we're going to display the header tag based on our state. So I need to pass current state here. Then after this div tag, in the form that we want to display two forms, right? In one form. So if we're in login state, we want to display email and password input field only. But if we're in sign up state, we want to display name, email, and password. So the first input field is going to be for name. Then we're going to use the ternary operator to check if the current state is login, then we're not displaying that input field. But if it is not login, which is going to be sign up, then we want to display the name input field. So here I'm going to check if current state is login, which is our default state, with the ternary operator here. Then we want to display null. If it isn't, then we're going to display this, which is going to be the input field. Inputs, the type is text. Then we'll have a placeholder that will take name, and it's going to be required. Okay, so if our current state is login, we want to display nothing. If it is not login, which is sign up, then we want to display the name input field. So this is the first field that I want to display. Then we'll have the second field, which is going to be displayed option for both login and sign up state. To display the email field. So input, the type is going to be email. Then we'll have a placeholder to display email, and it's going to be required as well. And the next field we'll have is our password field. So input, the type is password. We're going to have a placeholder as well that will display password, and it's also going to be required. Okay, so after these three input fields, we want to display text as well in our form. So we'll have a div tag that will be the container. The first text to be forgot password, and the second text that I want to display will be based on a state. So we're going to check if the current state is login. Then we use the ternary operator. We want to display this. If it isn't, we want to display that. Okay, so let's work with the first one. We're going to display this p text that we have here, and the text is going to say create account. And if the state is not login, we want to display a p tag that will say login here. Okay, and for each of these p tag, we want to lead the user to another page, not another page. We want to display the form that matches with the state. Okay, so I'll click. Then we'll call our set current state. So here we'll call the function set current state, and we're going to update the state to sign up. Okay, so I'm going to copy this, and I'll come paste it right here, and this is going to be login. Okay, so here it is. So now what we basically did here is to use the ternary operator to check if the current state is login. They want to display this p-text, create accounts, and when the user clicks on this p-text, it should display everything that has to do with this state. Okay, that's why we updated the state. So if the state is not login, they want to display login here. Okay, so after this div tag, we're now going to display our button as well. So button, the type is submit, and here we want to display the button text based on our state as well. So we're going to have current state is login, then display sign in text, and if it is not, display sign up. Okay, so this is what we have now. Now let's see what we have right here. Okay, you can see now that by default we set it here that our state should be login, and we're displaying the p text, the header text based on our state. Okay, Okay, so you can see it here, we have login, and we have the two fields that fall under the login states, email and password. Okay, we have forgot password, and we have the p-text here. If I click on create account, it's going to lead us to this form here to sign up. Okay, and we have the three fields that fall under the sign up state. We have the name, email, and password field. Okay, if I click on login here, it's going to display this login states. If I click on create account, it's going to display the sign up states. So now that we have this, let's start. Okay, so we'll start with this div tag that we have here. First name, display with flex, items, center, justify, center. The minimum height should be screen size. Background color will be gray, 100. Then for the form tag itself, class name, the background color will be white. The width will be full. Max width will be empty. MX auto. And we'll have margin total of 10. Padding will be 8. Rounded, that is for background radius, rounded will be 2XL. And we'll have a shadow, large. And we'll have a spacing on the y-axis, space 6. Okay, then we have this div tag right here. Class name, the text will be at the center. Then for the p tag, class name, text 2XL, the fonts will be bold. The text color will be gray, so text gray, 800. Then for our input field, class name. So we're going to use the same styling for our input field. So the best thing to do now is, let me click this. So we're going to select required, so Ctrl D. Then we use the right arrow key, then I'll add the space. So I want to style the entire fields at the same time. So the width here will be full, PX will be 4, PY will set it to 3. We'll have a border. And then the border color, border gray, 300, rounded. We want the border radius around it, empty. And then focus, outline, none. Okay, so focus outline none. Then on focus as well, we'll have ring, the color. Okay, we're going to use green, 500. Okay, so we'll start the 3 input field. Then we have this div tag right here, which is the container that is taking this to text. Okay, so class name, display will be flex, justify, space between texts should be small, and the text color will be blue, 600. Text small. Then we have a p tag right here. So for this p tag, class name, cursor will be pointer, we hover on it, on the line. Okay, we're going to use the same styling for the other two p tags. So I'm just going to paste it right here. I'll do the same thing, paste it here. Then we have our button. So we're going to style the button as well. The width, we'll set it to full. Background will be green, 600. If you hover on it, green, 800. Then the text color, text white. Then we'll have the fonts, semi-bold. And we'll have PY with 3, rounded, empty. Then we'll have transition, and the transition duration will be 300. So this is what we have now. We have the sign up here, name field, email field, password field. And if we click on login, we're going to have the text here, email field, password field, and we'll have our button. If we click on create account, we have the sign up field. Okay, so now for all this input field, we need to ensure that the values that our user is going to enter is going to be saved in a variable that we can send to the backend to confirm and also to register the user. Remember that this is a login and registration form. So whatever inputs that our user types, whatever changes they make, we want to be able to save them, save the text in a variable so that we can send them to the backend. Okay, so I'm going to create a state variable for that. So I'm going to create state variable for name, email, and password, and the setter function to update it whenever there is a change. And I'm going to initialize them with an empty string. So we're going to have const name, setter function, set name be equals to use dates be an empty string. Okay, we'll do the same for email. Setter function set email be equals to use dates be an empty string. And for password as well, const password setter function set password use dates be an empty string as well. Then we're now going to bind the name state, this variable here, with our input fields. So right here, the value that we want to get in the input field here, we're going to store it in name variable. So here, value. Okay, and when the user makes a change, when they type, we want to update the states, the name states with the new input. So we're going to have, if there's a change, we use onChange method, then we'll pass event here, then we'll call our set name, which is that function to update. So this is going to be e.target, will be the value. Okay, so we're going to use this. Let me close this. Okay, so we're going to use this here as well. So this is going to be for email, and here set email. The same thing will go for password. I'll change this to password, and here this is going to be set password. Okay, so the value that the user is going to type in this input field will be stored in the password, and if there's a change, the setup function is going to update that value. Okay, so we've done this. Now the next step is to create a function that is going to handle the submission, sending a submission to the backend, creating an account for the user, and also ensuring that the user is able to log in with the right information. So I'm going to create a function now that's going to handle submission. It's going to be an asynchronous function, and we're going to write the code now. So I'm going to name the function. So we're going to have const undo form submission. That will be the name of the function. It's going to be an asynchronous function. We're going to pass event here. Then first off, we need to prevent the form from refreshing the page. So we need to have events dot prevent default. Now we're going to use the try catch statements. Okay, before using the try catch statements, we need to call this function here and use it in our form. Okay, so right here in the form, we use the submit method. Then we're going to paste this function and do form submission so that our form will be submitted. Now back to our try block. In the try block, we're going to use an if-else statement. So we're going to check if our current state is sign up. We're going to send in data to our backend. And if the state is login, we're also going to send in email and password to the backend. So we'll use an if-else statement. So the first condition, if current state is sign up, then we are going to send a request to the registration API. So we're going to have const response be equal to await Axios. Remember we installed Axios earlier. So import Axios from Axios package. Okay, so const response await Axios dot post method. We're going to use post method to send the backend URL from our app. Then we'll concatenate it with our registration API /API/user/register. Then we'll add a comma. Then we'll have an object here, and in this object is going to take the name, email, and password. Okay, so after this now, we're now going to use an if statement, if-else statements. In this we're still in this if, the first if. Okay, we're going to use an if-else statement to check if the response is successful. So if response dot data dot success, then we want to save the token in global state. So here set token. Okay, so response dot data dot token. I said earlier at the backend that we're going to generate token for our user. So now we're generating token from the backend. We need a variable that's going to store that token at the front end. So right here, I'm going to create a state variable and a setter function to store and update the token. So token set token. By default, we're going to store, it's going to be an empty string. And right here, I'm going to pass set token as a props. And also, we're going to have set token in our login form here as a parameter. Okay, so if response of data is success, if we're able to send them to our registration API, then we're going to save the token in global states. Also, we're going to display just notification that registration is successful. Okay, remember we installed React Justify. So first off, before any other thing, we need the toasts container. And we're going to be getting that from React Justify, which we've already installed. Import toasts container from React Justify. Okay, so right here we can now display toast notification. So here we're going to have toasts from React Justify success response data message. Okay, so if it is not successful, then we want to display an error message. Toast.error response data message. Now this is for sign up. Okay, now this will be for login. The else statement here will be for login. Okay, so if the user is logging in, we want to send request to the login API. So right here we're going to have const response will be equal to await Axios post method, our backend URL of course, I will concatenate with our login API /API/user login. And also we'll send the object, which is going to be email and password. Okay. Then we'll use an if statement to check also if response the data, the message, if response the data to success. So instead of having to retype, we're just going to come here and copy this, Ctrl C, and I'm going to paste this here. So if response the data to success, then we are going to save the token in a global state, then display a source notification showing that login is successful. If there's any error, that's where the else comes in. We want to display an error message using source notification. So now, for our cat block, if there's any error with our try block, the cat block is going to log the error in console and also display a source notification, error message. Okay, so now we have this. So now let's test what we've done. We're going to create an account now, and we're going to give the account name dummy. So the email will be dummy@gmail.com. And the password, here's the password. If I click on sign up now, we're going to get a notification saying accounts created successfully. Okay, now let me click on login here, and you can see if I click on sign in, we're going to get a notification that login is successful. Okay, so you can be thinking why we sit on this page is because there is no next step, right, at this point. So now we need to ensure that when the user logs in successfully or creates an account successfully, they land on a page that we want them to land on. So in this case, I want them to land on the home page. So now we're going to create the home page. So when the user logs in successfully or they create an account successfully, they land on our home page. So now let's build the home page. So now we're going to create the home page. So for the home page that we have here, I'm just going to have, so we'll have a div tag. Then we'll have another div tag inside this div tag. Then we'll have 3 p tags. After the p tag, we'll have a button. Okay, and the button will say logout. The first p tag will be adevs. The second one will be welcome to my channel. And the third one would be don't forget to subscribe. To my channel. Okay, so this is our div tag here. I'm going to style this real quick. So class name, display will be flex, items, center, justify, center. Now we're going to have minimum height, will be screen size, and the background color will be gray, 100. Then the next div tag here, we'll style this as well. And the text here will be at the center, space Y4. Then we'll have a p tag here. The text should be large. The font should be semi-bold. Text color would be gray, 800. So here, text 6XL, text color should be gray, 700. Okay, for the last p tag as well, text size 2XL, text color gray, 700. And here we have a button. So class name, margin top will be 6, px will be 6, py will be 2. The background color is going to be red, 600. Okay, so we have rounded MD. Okay, so this is our home page. Now in our app.gsx, so now what we're going to do right here is to ensure that if token is available, that means if our user is logged in, then we want to display the home page. If token is not available, we want to display the login page. After that, if the user now logs in, which means that the token is available, and we're going to display the home page. So right here, I'm just going to cut this, Ctrl X, then we're going to check if token is empty. That means if it's not available, we want to do this. If it is, we want to do this. Okay. So if it's not available, we want to display the login. If it is available, we're going to mount, we want to display the home page. I'm also going to pass the set token here. I'm going to pass it right here. And we'll have the token that we have here on the home page. Okay. So remember that we have the button here to log out. Okay, so we're going to write that code. So that once the user clicks on the logout button on our home page, it will lead them back to the login page. So on click, the user and click method, then we'll call the set token function. Set token. And we're going to set this to an empty string. Right here, we've said that our token is empty, right? Only if we're able to generate token for the user when we send our data. Okay, we're able to set our token to global state. And here, we're checking if token is available. If token is not available, display the login page. If it is available, display the home page. So now let's log in. dummy@gmail.com. And the password. Then I'll click on sign in. Now you can see this message is here, login successful because the token is available. We're here on the home page. Okay, if I click on logout now, it leads us back to the login page. I'm going to log in again. dummy at gmail.com. Enter the password, click on sign in. You can see here that login is successful. Okay, so there's something else that we need to do apart from logging out. If the user refreshes the page, they're going to be logged out automatically. And this is because the token is not stored in the local storage. Okay, so we need to ensure that even if the user, no matter how the user refreshes, they are still logged in. So right here in our app.jsx, after this token declaration here, we're going to use this effect to then we create a function. Now I want to store in local storage. Local storage dot, we use the set item to set our token, and here our pass token. And here as well, we're going to have token as our dependency array. And right here, where we have token as empty, we will not have it as empty. We're going to be getting the token from our local storage. So let's get item. Either we get token or nothing. Okay. Okay, so we have a slight error here. There should be a comma. Okay, so this is fixed now. So now let's log in again. Journey at gmail.com. Password. I click on sign in. Login successful, we have it here, and if I refresh, we're still going to be logged in. Okay, only if the user clicks on logout, then they would be logged out. Okay, so let's enter this email, dummy at gmail.com, and then I'm going to change the password. If I click on sign in, you're going to get a notification here, incorrect password. We've tested this while building the backend, alright? So I just wanted us to test it again here in the front end. If the password is incorrect, we're going to get this message, incorrect password. Okay. And now if I click on sign in with the correct password, we're going to get login successful. If I click on logout, and let's say I want to create an account, let's say chili, and we have an email, chili at chili.com. Let's have it like this, and we have a password. If I click on sign up now, see here it's telling us to include ads because it's missing. Okay, so chili at gmail.com, and now let's say the password is less than the 8, so the next going to have CHIM4. We're going to get a notification. Please enter a strong password because right here we have just 4 characters. Okay, so without the complete characters, we're not going to get what we want. It's going to ask us to enter a strong password. So if the password is incorrect, if the username, if the password is incorrect, if the email is incorrect, we're going to get a notification for that. Also, we tested to see if we ensure that user only able each email is unique to a user. Okay, so now I'm going to do something. We have chili here. I'm going to have a random password. Then, instead of using chili at gmail.com, I'm going to use an existing user, which is dummy at gmail.com. If I click on sign up, it's showing us that the user already exists.